Good day, everyone. I am Mary J. Pyatt, the reporter for Political Self. So, to start our report, Introduction to Political Self, Developing Filipino Identity, Their Values, Traits, Community, and Institutional Factors. Who am I as a Filipino? As a Filipino citizens, this is something that often pops into our mind. We get to question our own identity as a Filipino. Who am I as a Filipino? Or who we are as a Filipino? This includes the values, traits that we have acquired living in this country, which is in the Philippines. Aspects in developing a Filipino identity. Filipinos seek to act on their utang na loob to exchange favor to what they have earlier. Receive as means to maintain smooth interpersonal relations with other people in the community. Also, Bahala na rather shows the determination and risk-taking attitude of Filipinos. Filipinos are willing to face the difficulties ahead on and do something about the hardships no matter what it takes. Second is aspects in developing a Filipino identity, institutional factors. Bayanihan shows the community spirit wherein people in the community help one another easing the workload of another when in need. In the old times when houses were still made of high materials, people would work hand in hand to carry a house and transfer it to a place to another. That is the example of bayanihan. Next is aspects in developing a Filipino identity, macro factors at the societal level. Immediate community with which one readily identifies oneself, this intimate grouping of which one is a member. We have a personal awareness of who we are at the age when we were to become conscious of the things around us. We begin to ask and seek for the fundamental questions like who am I and who we are. The answer is simple as giving out my name or our name or telling somebody our values, emotions, and feelings for the other questions. The answer might be in a way or in a form of getting away from things like kanang nagmuni-muni ka or mamalagi nagmuni-muni ka. And ang atong na-feel is same ra sa ubang tao. Pero lahi ra ang time sa lain lang na way. And in psychology, it's called our identity. Eric Erikson defined identity as a persistent sameness with oneself and a persistent sharing of some kind of essential characters. Eric Erikson provides us a model identity of how we become aware of who we are. In the picture, we could see infancy and adulthood. The integration to learn identities from childhood moves forwards to adolescence, where identity versus identity confusions occurs beyond identities or identity, the continuation of resolve and unresolved identities goes to adulthood. And the identity is a lifetime process, um, beginning in infancy and reaching its peak in adolescence. We are in a stage right now. Isn't it exciting to know who we really are? The goal in adolescence is to explore our identity or your identity or my identity and form a solid background which we are preparing right now, right now for the other developmental tasks ahead like family, relationships, career, old age, and even death. Teenager feels that they don't know how to act in particular situation. Other wants to feel that they are special to be recognized by their parents, school for the things they did do, and ang uban kay magka-depress kay walay ni pay attention to who they are. Thus, the exciting part towards finding one's identity is working on it. The task of identity continues throughout life. Ethnic identity, the sameness of a band or nation of people who share common customs, traditions, historical experiences, and in some instances, geographical residence. Trimble and Dixon 2005 define as that part of the totality of oneself construal, made up of those dimensions that express the continuity between one's construal of past ancestry, aspirations in relation to the Wenrich 1986. Next topic is establishing democratic culture. Demos, it is a combination of words demos meaning common people and kratos meaning rule of strength. When joined together, these two terms form the word democracy or rule of common people. This concept traces its history back to ancient Greek and Roman philosophers. Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, they were the great thinkers behind democracy. What comes into your mind every time you hear the word democracy? For me, the word means freedom, human rights, social justice, and elections. The democracy, legislative branch, executive branch, judicial branch, and lastly the digital self will explain by my co-reporter Arnold Herodias.
Democracy. Democracy comes from the Greek term demokratia, which means popular government. Democracy is the system of government where the citizens have the power to choose their leader through voting. It typically involves the protections of individual rights, the rule of law, and representation of the people in decision-making process. Legislative branch. Legislative branch is one of the three branches of the government responsible for making laws. It typically consists of bicameral and unicameral legislature such as parliament or Congress where elected representatives debate, propose, and vote on laws. The legislative branch plays a crucial role in the democratic process by creating and passing legislations that affects the functions of the society. Executive branch is the responsible for implementing and enforcing laws. It is usually headed by the head of the state or head of government such as president or prime minister. This branch ends various government agencies and officials who carry out and administers law. Mo po ni si Jai taas sa mga law gikan sa legislative usa mahimo kinahanglan moagi sa executive branch. The judicial branch. Judicial, on the other hand, interpret laws and ensure their constitutionality. It consists of the court system with judge and justice who resolve legal dispute, interpret laws, and ensure justice is served. Digital self. Digital self refers to how individual encompasses their digital identity, activities, and presence across various online platforms. It includes personal information, social media profile, online interactions, and the digital footprint a person lives on the internet. In democratic context, freedom typically refers to the fundamental rights of liberty afforded to individual within the society. These freedoms often include freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, freedom of association, right to privacy, rule of law. Freedom of speech, the right to express one opinion and ideas without censorships or restraint. Freedom of press, the ability of media outline to operate independent and report on events without undue interference. Freedom of assembly, the right to gather, participate in peaceful demonstrations or meeting. Freedom of religion, the right to practice any religion or none at all without persecution. Freedom of association, the right to join groups or organizations of one choice. The right to privacy, protections from unwanted intrusions into persons' affairs, rule of law, the assurance that all individuals, regardless of status, are subject to the same laws and legal process. Human rights in democratic refers to the fundamental rights and freedoms that everyone individual is entitled to regardless of their nationality, ethnicity, religion, gender, or other characteristics. Common human rights in a democratic context include right to life and liberty, freedom of expression, right to a fair trial, right to privacy, freedom of association, right to education, freedom of religion, and equality before the law. Right to right to life and liberty. The right to live and be free from right to life and liberty. The right to live and be free from arbitrary assist or detentions. Freedom of expressions. The right to express one's thoughts, ideas, and opinions without censorship. Right to a fair trial. The right to a fair and public hearing by an impartial tribunal. Right to privacy. Protections from unwanted intrusions into personal matters. Right to education. Access to education without discrimination. Equality before the law. The principles that everyone is equal in dignity and rights. Social justice and democratic. Which refers to the fair and equitable distributions of resources, opportunities, and privilege within a society. Key components of social justice in the democratic are equality, equity, inclusions, fairness, diversity. Equality, ensuring that all individuals have equal rights and opportunities regardless of factors such as race, gender, social economic status, or ethnicity. Equity, recognize and addressing disparities by providing support and resources to those who may face systemic disadvantage. Inclusion, fostering a society where everyone is included and has a voice regardless of difference. Fairness, ensuring fair treatment and just process within legal, economic, and social system. Diversity, valuing and respect the diversity of individuals and community. In democratic, an election is formal process through which citizens express their preference for individuals or political parties to represent them in government. Key features of elections in democratic are voting, representations, competitions, regulated, transparency, fairness. Voting. Citizens cast their votes to choose candidates or political parties. Representation. Elected candidates or parties represent the interest and views of the voters. Competitions. Multiple candidates or parties typically complete four positions. Regularity. Elections are held at regular intervals, ensuring accountability and responsiveness. Transparency. The electoral process is transparent and results are openly reported. Fairness. The electoral system aims to be fair, providing an equal opportunities for all candidates and parties.
Establishing Filipino culture. 1. Improve the political and social environment and reduce poverty through structural reforms in order to foster a sense of community and enable citizens to exercise their rights and fulfill their obligations. 2. Continually examine societal institutions responsible for value formation so that they can inculcate rather indoctrinate democratic citizenship values. 3. Incorporate cross-cultural activities in public and private sector programs, including those of schools, churches, NGOs, to recognize ethno-linguistic and cultural diversity in the country and encourage the sharing of experiences. 4. Further promote the use of Filipino and Philippine languages in all transactions to enable the articulations of citizenship and democratic views and values. 5. Continue to harness institutional as well as informal mechanisms that open space for the exercise of citizenship and democracy. The citizens' duties and responsibilities: 1. Register and vote. 2. Uphold the Constitution and obey the laws. 3. Respect the rights of others.